Ciao, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. My biggest inspiration when it comes to food and cooking is my nonna. She's very old school, and for the most part, she'll go to the market, see what looks really good, take that home and decide what to cook. For the most part, she just gets inspired by what is available. So I signed up this year for a CSA box or bag, and I have been loving it so much. A lot of the times, things come in my CSA box that I never pick up. I didn't think I liked, or things that I just wasn't planning to get, but now I have it. So I'm so inspired by this CSA box that I got this week. So we will be making 3 different kind of base recipes, 3 different things that you should kind of always have, or that really help make an amazing meal. Because once they're prepared, you want to eat it so much more. If it's not prepared, if it's just sitting in your fridge, you've had a vegetable in your fridge for 5 days, you probably aren't going to gravitate towards it. So in my CSA box this week, I always get these really awesome fresh mushrooms that are kind of a chef's medley, because they have so much more flavor than those baby Bella mushrooms you see on the shelf in the grocery store. But these mushrooms, the variety of mushrooms add so much texture, meatiness, and just flavor to your dishes. I'm so excited to cook with those mushrooms. I always get a green in my CSA box, and this one is chard. Such a spring vegetable. This chard looks beautiful and bright green, and I'm gonna show you a really fun way to use it today. But chard is awesome for us. There's so many health benefits to chard, and I think it's an underrated green. You wanna look for dark leafy greens and kind of get out of your comfort zone with them. So this is a really fun leafy green, and there's so many ways to make it. I wish I could do a recipe video all on chard, but today I'm just gonna show you, honestly, the most simple and delicious way to make it. This is a vegetable I never pick up, but they're so beautiful and they're so great for spring. Radishes. I have a ton of radishes. They gave me purple ones and pink ones, and they're gorgeous. They're just really crispy and really bitter. And I'm actually gonna show you, because I have so many, 2 different types of radish recipes or ways to use radishes. My favorite vegetable, probably like top 3 favorite, carrots. We got some beautiful heirloom carrots. I love it because they're such different shapes. They're kind of wonky. They're not like perfectly straight. You have the 3 colors, the red, the purple, and the yellow. Sometimes there's also a variety of white carrots. I love the shapes of my produce that come in my CSA, because it shows that what I'm seeing at the grocery store is very much manipulated and perfected. This looks exactly like how the markets do in Europe, with all these different shapes, and it makes me so happy. And then this one was kind of confusing, but I'm not gonna judge it. We live in a world where you can grow anything kind of any time of year. Is it good? Not necessarily, but we have some kind of sad apples that I was gonna bake with, but I think I'm gonna save 1 to bake with, and I'm gonna use the other 2 today. And so that is the roundup of what is in my CSA. So the first recipe today is going to be a base of a crust, store-bought pizza dough. You could use a store-bought flatbread, so kind of just use already bought flatbread, dress it up, and then throw it in the oven. You can buy pie dough or pastry dough, but having a pastry dough at all times in the fridge or freezer, or just knowing that it takes 3 or 4 ingredients to make a pastry dough, is a game changer. So today I'm making a tart because it's so protein packed. I also love this pastry dough for a galette. That is kind of the base of our first recipe, which is a caramelized onion and radish tart today with herbes de Provence. That is kind of my secret weapon, and I'll get more into secret weapons and flavor bombs as we go through the video. But the first recipe is going to be that delicious tart, and I'm trying to showcase a crust of some sort. Just think dough, think tart, dough, bread style kind of thing. So that's always a go-to meal in my mind. A second go-to meal I know gets a lot of hate, and you like are automatically deemed boring and healthy if you eat them, but salads are amazing. I'm so sick of salads not getting the love that they deserve, because you aren't building the layers of textures and flavors and satisfying goodness. So this salad, it's all about, do you have an incredible dressing to go with it? Dressings are what give it that satisfying, luxurious, fatty goodness, as well as a ton of flavor. So today I was inspired to make an orange blossom date tahini dressing for a beautiful and delicious chard salad that uses the carrots, the radishes, the apples, and then you have this incredible vibrant, so healthy vegetable and fruit packed salad that's complemented by this incredible dressing that has so much hearty, delicious, creamy flavor. Some crispy prosciutto because I needed to get it out of my fridge, and some toasted breadcrumbs because I always want something crunchy on the top of my salad. I want something fatty. The prosciutto pairs so well with the dates, and then you have that toasted nutty bread, and you can do so many variations. And then lastly, we are going to be making a very, very favorite of mine, which is going to be some homemade gnocchi with sauteed mushrooms. Two really chewy, meaty, delicious combination of goodness sauteed together. They complement each other so well. All these meals are so easy once you have the flavors ready to go. So I have frozen gnocchi ready to go. If it was maybe prepared barley or farro, that'd be incredible. If you wanted to cook off some pasta and make this with pasta, that would be incredible. So I kind of think of like a single grain in a way, and I know gnocchi is not a single grain, it's a dumpling, but I'm kind of thinking like pasta or grains. You could do a risotto, you could do rice. Maybe I'm making sense, maybe I'm not, but that's what I'm kind of getting at with the third dish. So if you have these bases to build an incredible meal with whatever flavorings you have in your fridge and leftovers you have in your fridge, you're good to go. And we're just gonna hop into all three of the recipes.
Caramelized onion, goat cheese, and herbes de Provence radish tart. So tarts are not nearly as hard as they look, especially when you make a super quick and easy pastry crust. So this is a very specific pastry crust because I am using one herbes de Provence to give it an extra layer of flavor. I think when we find dishes kind of boring, it's because we're not adding in enough of that flavor. So herbes de Provence is a dried herb blend from France that contains like fennel and rosemary, thyme, marjoram, tarragon. What makes it really special and why I love it so much is there's a smidge of lavender in it, which gives it something so unique, as well as savory, which is a type of herb kind of in the mint family that we don't often see in America. And I'm also using European butter. So it's very important to know the difference between European and American butter because they are not like substitutes for each other in some ways, because European butter has a higher fat content and often is sometimes, most of the time, has cultures in it as well. So it has kind of a slightly tangy fermented taste. And these are this is a very buttery I'm saying crackers because I'm still thinking about the crackers that I made with the scraps that were so good, but it's a pastry crust, Caroline. It's a very buttery, decadent pastry crust, and you're going to call me out and say, Caroline, how am I eating white flour and butter, and how is that considered healthy on the Mediterranean diet? It is a vessel, and you're eating it in moderation, and when you have insanely high quality flour and really good butter, you're eating things that are good for your body. Your body needs fats and carbs, and you're getting the highest of quality of them. So that's how I view it, and it's in moderation. I'm not saying you should eat this quiche or tart or, you know, this really decadent buttery pastry crust every single week, every single day, but as a rotation in your meal options, you know, this is definitely an option, and you balance it out. You have a great slice with a side salad or some vegetables, or, you know, just as a snack, whatever it may be, but you balance it with, you know, different meals throughout the day. So if you consider this a more decadent meal, then know that your other meals are not going to be as decadent, but everything in moderation. If we never let ourselves eat flour or butter, we wouldn't feel satiated or satisfied. And of course, if you are gluten-free or dairy-free, you know, there is a lot of plant-based butters out there, and I'd be really curious to hear if you did try this with a plant-based butter, an all-purpose gluten-free flour. I am using a single grain flour here, Spelt. It is my favorite flour to use in baking because it has a little bit richer depth of nutrients than just regular all-purpose. Not that anything is wrong with all-purpose, I just kind of like using single grains. And as you can see, rolling out this pastry crust is so beautiful because it is so studded with all of those herbs that just really, like I said, takes it to a whole other level. And with the European butter as well, it's quite softer than American butter. So when I was kind of using my hands, which might have freaked you guys out, yes, I have a few cuts on my fingers. Don't ask why. It's actually a huge burn that you saw on my thumb. Remember, I eat all this food myself, so don't come for me. Don't be the police. It's not like I have a restaurant. I eat most of this food and share it with my family. So if it freaks you out that I use my hands to mix some butter into some flour, then I'm sorry, turn off my video because I'm just not for you. Anyways, this type of butter, this European butter, blends really quickly. It's much softer than American butter, even if it's not at room temperature. So it doesn't take much to kind of really squeeze it and get it incorporated into the flour. Just make sure you don't overdo it because you don't really want to melt melt the butter, and that's why it's so important to refrigerate the dough and make sure that it's really, really cold when you roll it out. And then another thing that you really want to do is put this crust back in the fridge for about 20 minutes after you rolled it out and pierced it in the tray. It needs to get cold again, and that will develop a super crispy, delicious, flavorful crust if you keep it really, really cold before it goes into the oven, and that will help with the puffiness of that butter. Thinly slicing some radishes. Honestly, I wish I had better knife skills, or honestly, a way sharper knife to have cut them way thinner. I should have used the mandolin, but your girl was lazy. Whip up some delicious bright orange yolk eggs. Look at those yolks. That is a fun fact that you should know, that your yolks. What am I saying? Your yolks should be orange. It's really hard to find those, and it's really, really, really expensive to get really good eggs with really good orange yolks. But when you're at the farmer's market, look for some eggs and try to see if you could get local, really good pasture raised, all of those labels, which is so confusing in the American marketing world of, what is a good egg and what's worth my money and this and that. But it's good when they're orange. It's kind of really impressive. And then you do the caramelized onions, the goat cheese, the thinly sliced radishes, and it comes out looking gorgeous. And it was absolutely delicious. It hit the spot, and it can be reheated so easily. You just take a slice in the oven and reheat it at like 375, so you can kind of re-crisp the edges, and you kind of want to rotate it around and make sure you're getting all the sides nice and warm and golden and everything again.
Circular or this even smaller rectangular size, I always have a little bit of leftover crust, and so I just take the edges and throw them on a piece of parchment paper into the oven until they get golden brown, and now you have these super flaky, buttery, crispy crackers. Great to snack on, great for a charcuterie and cheese board. There's just endless possibilities, and they're just crispy, and they have that delicious crispy crunch, buttery, salty, a little bit of herbs and lavender from the herbs de Provence. Perfect little snack. And now I have the tart. Turned out gorgeous and delicious. I was a little impatient. I should have par-baked it a little bit more because it doesn't bake much past the when you put all the filling in. But the filling is light and fluffy because we didn't use too many eggs, and the Greek yogurt has that fat in it that keeps these eggs so fluffy. The flavor of the caramelized onions, herb de Provence, radishes, oh my gosh, so much flavor. The Parmesan makes it nice and salty, adds that rich depth of creaminess on top of that really tangy goat cheese on top too. You have so many flavors. We have those simple onions, radishes, cheeses, dairies, and then the simple pastry crust. But all together, these really, really simple ingredients that are insanely high quality offer so much flavor, texture, all kinds of good stuff. Absolutely incredible. Let's move on to the amazing salad.
If you've been following me for a while, or you've watched a handful of my YouTube videos at this point, you know that I love tahini dressings, and no, I will never stop making them no matter how many variations I come up with, because they are so satisfying and delicious. I love tahini in a dressing. It gives the right amount of nuttiness, creaminess, all the above, and the soaked dates add a nice caramel touch. And you're thinking, why do I want caramel in a savory dish, Caroline? Just trust me on that. It's so balanced out with the little tiny dash. Put way too much here, but you just need literally like half a teaspoon of orange blossom water. So floral, such a beautiful flavor. Lots of orange zest and orange juice to really help counteract that caramel date flavor. It just is so good together. And I'm really sad I did not show the toasted sesame oil that I added, because that is what you need in this dressing to really help balance the flavors, keep it more on the savory side. You get a little bit of toasted extra nuttiness from it, and a little bit of extra fat as well. That just makes a dressing so good. So with the chard, I like to separate the stems from the leaves, and here are like my biggest things when it comes to a salad. Number one, everything needs to be bite-sized. So when you're going to make a salad, and I absolutely despise restaurants for this, they will leave the most biggest like chunks of things that don't fit on a salad, or that don't fit on a fork. So then here I am at a dinner table at a restaurant trying to eat a salad, and it just doesn't look cute. So it's so important, in my opinion, to make everything the same size roughly, and to be able to fit on a fork when you're going to make a salad, so that way it's just easier to eat easy. When things are easy and they look good, we're more inclined to eat them. And then, like I've always mentioned, the variety of textures and flavors is so important in creating a satiating salad. That's what makes it a true meal. So lots of produce, whether it is greens or not. It doesn't have to be greens to be a salad. Complex carbs or, proteins and fats. So if you want to do grains and lentils or some kind of beans, add those into your salad to add some protein and just help with filling you up a little bit more. You want something crunchy, whether that's nuts or seeds or croutons or something like that, but you also want something crisp, whether that's really fresh vegetables or roasted vegetables or something like that. So you want fatty things and protein-filled things, like cheeses, or those you can find that in dressings. Think of how much variation can I put into this salad. Something salty and briny, whether that's olives or capers. You want that creaminess, like I said, like avocados, fat and creaminess. So a lot of the things that I'm saying, ingredients can be, crossing over into a lot of these categories, whether it's like salty and fatty, that's what nuts are, and those are also crunchy. So it's like, yeah, that sounds like a lot of things you want to put in a salad. A lot of things tend to cross over into each other's categories.
The orange blossom adds a nice little hint of floral goodness. The zesty orange complements everything in the salad so well, and then you have that sweet date. You have a lot of bitter going on. So these greens are bitter, not in the sense of like arugula, like spicy bitter. They just have like a aftertaste that's quite bitter. Same with the radishes, and then you have those sweet carrots and those sweet apples, and then you have this really almost sweet kind of datey, caramelly tahini sauce, but rounded out with the amazing orange. These are also really, really hearty vegetables. So having this thick, satisfying dressing, nice and creamy, sweet, nutty, really, really helps with everything. And then you get that nice salty prosciutto, which is something salty that you need. And then the crunch of the bread, which just makes it feel like it's just a different, more airy crunch than you get from all the crunchy vegetables. That just makes you feel so satiated. Biggest bite ever, here we go. So good. It just screams spring. All the colors are so beautiful and so, so perfect for springtime. It's so good. Let's move on to recipe number 3.
I really want to make homemade gnocchi one time on my channel because it actually can be gluten-free and dairy-free. So I could make like a normal one, I could make a ricotta version, I could make a gluten-free one or even dairy-free one. So, because I'm obsessed with gnocchi. My nonna taught me how to make gnocchi. She makes the best gnocchi, even now that she's like 83, I think, and she has the tiniest kitchen in the world where 90% of her utensils are broken. She still makes gnocchi, and my family members tell her to stop working so hard in the kitchen, and she says, no, this is my love language, and I get her for that. You know what I mean? So those mushrooms, you've heard me say it 100 times, don't touch them. Put them in a hot pan with olive oil, let them caramelize, then you salt them, because mushrooms are a sponge, and if you salt them, they'll release a ton of water, and they'll never get chewy and yummy and good when they're sauteed. I have some frozen gnocchi here that I highly recommend defrosting. I don't think you should cook frozen gnocchi in the pan because it won't cook all the way through. You definitely want to use fresh gnocchi or defrosted gnocchi. And this gnocchi I made at a kind of cooking class thing over the summer last year. It was such a fun experience with some saffron. So it's a really beautiful homemade gnocchi, and I love that it was homemade because you gotta make them so small so they're like the same size as the mushrooms, making it really easy to eat them together because they were the same size. And then of course I have this lemon pistachio pesto. Yes, I'm using gnocchi, but you could use farro, barley, another short grain type of pasta, anything you'd like, beans in place of that gnocchi.
I have a plate of pasta and mushrooms. Not just any pasta, homemade gnocchi, ricotta gnocchi with mushrooms and pesto. How do you expect it to not be good? So as your texture queen, I love this so much because that gnocchi is so chewy. Don't get me wrong, it's really, really good when it's nice and light and pillowy, but a really chewy gnocchi with a really meaty, delicious mushroom. Pesto, I taste the white wine. I love white wine. You don't have to use the wine. Like I said, you can use broth. It's fabulous. Like, what? You want me to get up here and say that pesto, like I said, pesto, mushrooms, and gnocchi is bad? Like, it's so good. It's so, so, so good. I think this is my favorite one. I mean, it's hard to say. I love them all. I can't believe how these all turned out so well because, once again, everything you saw in this video, I created in the noggin about the past 24 hours. I literally didn't have the time to go grocery shopping. I used everything I had in my fridge, my pantry, my freezer, and I just hope that this was good enough because I just kind of created it on a whim and I felt so inspired to make all of these recipes, and I really, really, really hope you enjoyed them. If you did, please let me know in the comments. I love, love, love to chat with you guys in the comments. It makes my day to hear from you and read your comments and respond to you guys, and just any ideas that you have, I love to hear, or questions. If there's a certain ingredient or type of dish that you've been wanting to try, if there's any questions that you have on the modern Mediterranean lifestyle, the Mediterranean diet, I'm your girl. If anything, I will always try my best to help, even if I don't know the answer. Thank you so, so, so much for watching this video. And until next time, I hope you create a very, very zestful day. Ciao.